Hello YouTube, today I'll show you Invoked Dogmatika Shaddoll deck profile. I budgeted that one because I do not own Prosperities, even the DBE package. So with what I have, I try to build the most competitive Invoked Dogmatika deck. So if you already have the Invoked stuff, this deck runs you less than $100, so you can consider it budget, and of course if you have the staples. So we start with the main deck. Of course, Invoke package, 3 Aleister. He never dies, he will never die. He's Dante in disguise. So yeah, we will normal summon Aleister for the next 5 more years. So yeah, 3 Aleister gets you Invocation, 3 Meltdown, it gets you Aleister, and it says to your opponent, no, you cannot stop my fusion summon. Also chain blocks your Shaddolls if it never happens. 1 Terraforming to get Meltdown, so basically you play 7 copies of Invoker, the Aleister, and 2 Invocations because you don't need more. That run offs the Invoked package, then Dogmatika package, 2 Ecclesias. You can play 3, but 2 is enough. You can always recycle it in the graveyard if you happen to draw Nadir later on turns. 1 Fleurdelis, 1 Maximus. So Maximus is a key part in this deck because you want Maximus to resolve, to send your Apkallone and add the Schism to your hand, which pretty much makes Winda, and Winda can block your opponent for special summoning because if you establish a board, you don't really need to special summon more than once, sorry. Next, 3 Nadirs, the card that combines the 2 engines together, so you send a monster from your extra deck, and pretty much you want to always add Ecclesia, and if you have the invoked stuff already live, then you will be having a Mechaba on the field. You can special summon Ecclesia and then add Maximus, so you can go for your Shaddoll plays later on, and also you search during the end phase Fleurdelis, which is also a Veiler in your opponent's turn. Next, to run off our Dogmatika package, I do play 1 Punishment because if you happen to draw Nadir after you resolve the first one, or you have Ecclesia again, you can always search Interruption on later turns. And that's it for the Dogmatikas. Do play more than needed Shaddolls, but these are more utility than anything. So yeah, 1 Dragon. So if you happen to go for a Construct on later turns to resolve your Schism for the 2nd time, you can go for Dragon to pop a card, to pop a spell and trap on your opponent field, or you can go for Ariel, which is like 3 DD grows. And yeah, Schism is always part of the combo. Next, for hand traps, do play a lot. So 3 Nibirus, 3 Ash Blossoms, 3 Veilers, and 3 Imperms. So it's an engine deck, so that's why you need to supplement it with ways to interrupt your opponent. So you max out on pretty much the best hand traps in this format. So yeah, you need 2 hand traps in this format to stop your opponent because decks got a little crazy with the bird deck. So yeah, you need a combination of Nibiru and either of these, or just 2 hand traps for Sorcerer, or any deck you can imagine that is competitive needs 2 ways of interruption when you go second. So you need to max out on every good hand trap to be able to play yourself. Next, going second, if you have droplets, play droplets because this deck you can. But yeah, Chalice can do the job pretty good. Baits interruption, you can continue playing with your Invoked with Dogmatika. So droplet is pretty nice. Also, I do play 2 Super Polys. So while playing 2 Shaddoll monsters, if you happen to draw 1 in Super Poly and you break somehow because we don't have consistency, because we don't play Prosperity or DPE, which is a powerhouse in this format, you can just happen to draw Super Poly with Aleister, or super poly with your two Shaddoll monsters. And if your Aleister gets Ash and you don't have the Dogmatika follow-up and you just have a super poly, you can wait for your opponent to have a Wind Fire or light monster, or even a fusion with DPE. If they go for DPE, you can just super poly for Augoeides on field. So that's pretty good tech too, because yeah, the old saying, I want to see it sometimes but not all the time, because I'm not guaranteed to open the Invoke package every time. So yeah, just for that reason too. Next, a call by to make sure our Aleister goes through or we don't get drolled. Call by is such a good card. And because we're not guaranteed to go first every time, we play one Duster and one Raigeki. Because some decks, pretty much, you can just bait the interruptions like Sword Soul, Baroness. Just go Raigeki, they will Baroness, of course, to negate because they lose the old board. And you can just play with your other cards in your hand. And Duster, you know, for back row decks, if you play locals, it's good. I'll show you now my extra deck. Of course, the Almiraj, Secure Guard now, needed, and the one Predator and Anaconda. So this is here even for Super Poly. If you have enough to go for Anaconda, you can Super Poly, you can Anaconda effect, make a monster dark, and I do play the one Starving Venom, so you can turn one of your opponent monster dark and go Anaconda effects and Super Poly. You don't need to discard. You just fusion away the Anaconda and the dark monster you just made to go for your Starving Venom. So there's like a spot removal for that, because yeah, this will main target will be DPE, but I don't play DPE in this build. One Entrance to send with Nadir Maximus. It's just good, pops one. One Titaniklad to add your Fleurdelis during your next turn, during your end phase, and also it's a dark monster to banish with Schism and Apkallone, and this make Winda. One Starving Venom because we do play Super Poly, and also is a monster system by Anaconda. For the Shaddolls, one Winda, one Apkallone, and one Construct. If you have like good hand, you don't want to discard, you can always go for the Nadir Servant Apkallone, add the Schism, send Schism, and then with Maximus, which is searched by your Ecclesia, you can send the Construct, and Construct will add the Schism to your hand without needing to discard any of your other interruption you might have in your hand. And Winda is just why the deck is good. Next, for Invoked, one Raidjin, one Purgatrio, one Augoeides, and two Mechabas. So Raidjin, pretty much everybody will side Droll against you, because Droll is pretty good against this deck. So you want to make Raidjin because it's possible to make it later turns. Purgatrio, you play Ash Blossom, your opponent plays Ash Blossom most definitely. So you have a chance to make this. This is the out to the DPE when it's in the graveyard. Aleister plus the DPE makes Augoeides. Also, it has a good effect whenever your opponent special summons, you can destroy a monster. And Mechaba is just Mechaba. Next, you can play, this is like a flag spot. I do wanted to play the Ignister Pegasus, for the reason when your opponent is ready to send, you know, because it's a pretty favorable deck, this format, some people choose to put in the extra deck Antis, so I go for Ignister sometime, because pretty much protects from this, because this card is in the graveyard and your opponent pops a card, or by battle you can banish it and return a card on your opponent's side of the field to the hand. So this can be the out to your opponent Antis, and also put some pressure on them for destroying your cards while you send this in the graveyard. But if you're planning to play competitively, this could be Omega to get rid of the DPE pretty easy. So yeah, that's it for the deck profile. Hope you enjoy it. Leave a like and subscribe.